Hello and welcome yet again to Maski Learning and Maski TV with your own very lovely teacher, Teacher Tandy. So let's start one more time, grade 8. Please settle down when we are just getting into these equations, right? So today we are doing algebra, but we are not just doing algebraic expressions. We are doing them with the equations. I'm very sure that by now some of you knows and understand what equations are all about, but that's why we are going to do some practical questions for us to respond to the questions, right? So by the end of this session, you should be able to substitute correctly the value of unknown and be able to get the answer of what you need to get, right? So you need to be able to understand how to isolate, leave the variable by itself so that you can be able to get to the answer and also to generate the output and input information to the table, which will then help us when we deal with functions and relations for us to be able to deal with those concepts, and also how to solve a variable given a linear equation that is using an additive or multiplicative inverse. Okay. So let's say, for example, there, if we are saying substitution, we say, if ever I am given an information, in this case, they said, if x equals 2 and y equals a negative 3, right? Find 3x squared y. So that's what you are going to do. So this is your question. So how are you going to find 3x squared y? Whenever you see x, you're going to put 2, and wherever you see y, you're going to put a negative 3, right? So that's what we are doing here. You can see that we had our 3, it remains like that, and where it was x, we put 2. Remember the square. And then where there's y, we put a negative 3. Then if you multiply this together, you're going to have 3 multiplied by a 4 multiplied by a negative 3. Remember that 3 multiplied by a 4 will give us 12, and then 12 multiplied by 3 will give us 36. Then we keep the negative. That's why we have our answer as a negative 36. Okay. So let's do this one together. We are given the same similar question. Here they say find a b squared. Given what? A equals 4 and b equals a negative 2. So what you need to do there is just to substitute the a and the b. So let's do it. Our a is 4. And our b is a negative 2. Then we square that. That will be 4 multiplied by 4. What happened is when you have a negative 2 squared, you are more likely to be having it as a negative 2 multiplied by a negative 2. So a negative multiplied by a negative will give us a positive, and a 2 times 2 will give us 4. Hence, we are having a positive 4, right? So that is very important for you to remember that. And then after you do that, you have your 4 multiplied by 4, which will then give you a 16, right? So which means that if I'm substituting a and b, when I have ab squared, my answer will therefore be 16. Okay, so let's go. Check the second part. So since we are dealing with equations today, we needed to understand what is equations and what are we saying, what are we talking about in terms of equations, right? So an equation is actually a mathematical statement that have 2 expressions. If you remember, in the previous sessions, we were talking about expressions. The last 2 sessions, we had expressions there. So this is the same, but now it has something that makes it unique, which is an equal sign. So the equal sign is the one that makes it an equation. Let alone we are saying that left-hand side actually is equal to the right-hand side. So that's what we are trying to represent to you here. And then a number that comes before a variable, we call that number a coefficient, right? A number that comes before a variable, we call it a coefficient. So in this case, that is our 2 and our 4. So those two are called coefficients. And then if ever you have a variable that when we use like alphabet, in this case we have x and a y, we call these ones then variables. So this x is our variable and this y is our variable. So that's what it's all about. Again, if we have just a number, that particular number, we call it a coefficient. So any number without variable like this ones, we call them coefficient. So you just need to know that, but the uniqueness part that makes an equation different from any other thing is just the sign of an equal sign. Bear that in mind. With an equal sign, you have everything that is called an equation, right? So let's go to it and let's see how we're going to deal with our equations, right? Here, if we have the equations like this, always the goal will usually be solving for the unknowns that you don't know. So you're solving for something that you don't know. It's either be x, y, p, r, whatsoever that they give you which you don't know. In a lower grades, they used to use a square, kind of like they would just put a square. And when we are teaching, we'll be saying it's a like we don't say what it is, we just say it's something that you don't know. So just remember that we are just now representing it in terms of a variable x, y, or any other letter that is there, right? Or any other alphabet. So here, if you are given 2x plus 5 equals 11. So let's see how we deal with this one. We have 2x plus 5 equals 11, right? When you have this, what we need to do is to isolate the x must be alone. So we need to try and isolate it. How are we going to isolate it? Is to try and make sure that we remove everyone so that the x can remain by itself. So this time we do have the 5, but this 5 must go away. We don't just take it and throw it. For us to take it away, we need to use the additive inverse, which is minus 5. But what we do on the left, we always must do on the right. So we need to subtract 5 in both sides, and then we will remain with 2x equals 11 minus 5. That will be 6. So you'll see that's where this statement comes in, right? Then from here, we still have to continue isolating. Then we need to then use the multiplicative inverse. In this case, we have 2x, we need x alone, so we need to divide that side by 2, but what we do on the left, we do on the right. So we divide both sides by 2, therefore our x will then be equal to 3. So that's how we have the x being equal to 3, like that. So this is how we deal with linear equations or any other equations when we are solving for unknown. In this case, we are solving for x. I hope you guys have managed that and you have understood how it moved from the given equation up until where x equals 3, right? When we are busy with that as well, we need to know how to then use this similar substitution information that we have, the solving of the equation that we have, to then have the relationship between the input and the output situations. If you remember very well, in one of my explanation, I did say that input just means x values. So any value that is an x value in an equation, when you put it in, we literally call it an input. But when you get the answer from that input that you have just put, we then call that an output, which is on the y values. So it's very important for you to actually understand the relationship between the two, but also the meaning of the input and the output in relation to x and y. Okay. So let's see here in one of our book, which is today. I do have it here with me. So this is the book I'm talking about. In one of our book, there's a very nice exercises and examples from page 77 where the equations are actually introduced. But I just went to page 87 where there's this nice table created there and with the solutions, with literally an explanation of how the solutions were found, or on how this particular table were filled, right? So that's what I need you guys to know and understand. So with that, let's do it together and let's see. So they said in that example, copy and complete the table of ordered pair of the equation. So ordered pair of the equation simple means that we are dealing with x and y. So that is our ordered pair of equation. You can't just deal with one and leave the other, right? So you need to know that. It's also very, very important. Okay, so let's go through this and see how we're going to get to the answers and how we're going to see how they did it. So let's see. For example, we are given here y equals, so we are given y equals a negative 2x minus 10. That is the equation. So what is happening here? For them to find the output, they need, or we need to substitute the input, which we just said that input is literally the value of x. So this first column here is where the input are. So you just have to remember that this is where your row where the input are, right? There where there's x. So all that row is where your input are. You need to find the outputs. How do we find the output? We will put the value that is given to us, and we need to substitute the given value of x, which is a negative 4, right? And then we can then leave what we had like that. So a negative 2 multiplied by a negative 4, that will give us a positive 8 minus 10, and that will give us a negative 2. So that's what they're literally showing us, and that's how they're doing it. I need you guys to just look at this for like a few minutes. If you have today with you, you can use it. But if you don't have, for future reference, you can actually buy it online. You can have it as a PDF, or you can have it as a hard book, a hard copy book that you can go and buy in any bookshops that is there. You can find it, or you can actually shop it online on our MML space where you can be able to get it. So I want you to take this in a screenshot. Let me just remove this so that you can be able to take the snapshot properly. Take the snapshot for those who don't have the book, and those who have the book can then use this to refer. I want you to take the snapshot so that when we go to where you have to start working, you can then do your own reference. Okay, I hope you have taken it, because the next part, therefore, is where you have to work a little bit and complete the missing y values, which is your output. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to start with number 1, and then we do number 2 and we do number 3, so that we can be able to get to the solution. It's very, very nice if you look at that example together with your own knowledge to try and solve those questions. We have given you the equations. We just want you to get to it. If you get any challenge, please pop it on a chat and let us know what it is that you need to know and what it is that makes you stuck, because we are here to help. Remember to ensure that when you're in school, you can do this properly. I'll be right back. Just taking a break. Okay, I hope everyone have got that and we are ready to roll. So let's see. The first equation we are given is y equals x minus 3. So that is our equation. I hope many of you have put the answers there as it is. So let's see. The first one, I'm given x to be 0. So what am I going to do? I'm going to substitute my x to be 0, so that will be equals to 0 minus 3. So y will be equals to 0 minus 3, which will then make my y to be equals to a negative 3. So that means on my table form, and therefore I am going to come and fill the first part as a negative 3. You see how easy it is? Very, very easy. We can do this together. So let's check the next one. The next one, we are given 1. So you use the same equation, but you do say that I have y equals. So instead of us having x, we are now going to have 1, and we subtract it by 3. And when we do that, we're going to get the answer as a negative 2. So we have a negative 3. Now we are having a negative 2. You continue doing it like that until you get to the end of it. So we have y equals. Now we have 2. Instead of x, we're going to put 2. Then we subtract 3. That will be a negative 1. It does look like we have a pattern, hey? So then we have a negative 1. Continue like that. We have y equals. Instead of x, we're going to put a 3, and then we subtract the 3. That will give us 0. So that means where x is 3, y is 0. That's what it means. Then we have the other one, it's y equals. Instead of x, we're going to put 4. So y equals 4 minus 3. That gives us a positive 1. So we're going to write there we'll have 1. Same applies to the last one, where y will be equals to, our x is now 5. So we're going to put 5, and then we minus 3. That will give us 2. So this is how you actually go around and work with this until you get to your final answer for all of them. So we have done that, which shows a very similar way of working in terms of substitution. Even the second one and the third one, we're going to do that. So let's do quickly the second one while you are writing and I am just filling it in. Are you ready for that? So you're going to write it and I'm going to fill it in, right? So you can put it on the chart or you're writing it wherever you are. So y equals 2x. So instead of x, we say we're going to put 0. So we're going to substitute x with a 0. That means that where x is 0, what is 2 multiplied by 0? Yes, 2 multiplied by 0 is a 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is a 0, so we are going to put the 0 there, right? Same applies to where you have y equals to x. Instead of x, we're going to put 1. So when we put 1, therefore, so you can show that in your calculation that I have 2 multiplied by 1, which will give me just 2, because anything multiplied by 1 is that thing. So this is a 2, right? So we have the other one is where we have y equals 2 and multiplied by 2. That will give us a 4. Then you come here, you put 4, right? We can keep on doing it like that. Y equals 2 multiplied by a 3. That will give us 6. So you fill it in. Since the questions want us to fill the missing words or missing numbers, missing values, y equals 2 multiplied by 4. What is 2 times 4? It's an 8. Yes, it is. So we're going to write that as 8. Going forward, our last one, y equals 2 multiplied by 5. That will be equals to a 10. So that is what we are going to fill there. So we have filled the second one, and that's how you do it, and you can continue doing it like that. And this is how we fill the tables, right? Same applies to this one. We fill it that way. We can quickly do this one as well. Y equals 2 multiplied by 0 plus 3. The answer will be 3. So we can fill that 3. And we have y equals 2 multiplied by 1 plus 3, that will be 2, times 1 is 2, and we add a 3, that will be 5. So we have it as 5. Then we continue. We have y equals 2 multiplied by 2 plus 3. 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, plus 3, it's a 7. So we're going to come here and write 7, right? So we continue in that way. Y will be equals to 2 multiplied by 3, and then we add the 3. That is 6 plus 3, that will give us 9, right? And then we can write the 9. Also, you can see for all of them, there's a particular pattern that is going on and on. If you quickly see the pattern, you can just continue. But then if you don't see it, you can just continue doing your calculations. So 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. And then when we add the 3, we get 11. So you can see it's more like we are adding by 2 as we go on. Excuse me. Y equals 2 multiplied by 5 plus 3. That gives us a 10. That gives us a 13, right? So it's 10 plus 3. That will be a 13. So we just write it like that. Easy, right? So not really difficult. You just have to listen to what you have to do and see what you have to do. The key here is that you keep your brackets, because if ever you are given a negative number and you did not put a bracket, you might mistaken it with something else. So keep your brackets and make sure that you treat it as a multiplication. Don't just put it like that. Okay. So that is one of the things that you should have done. Our just quick kind of a question is this one, where now you have to solve. You can do it by inspection, or you can literally calculate properly. So when you do by inspection, you inspect, but you always have to make sure that you can check that is true. When you are busy looking at that particular one, I am going to just let you drink some water, and when you are drinking the water, you'll be able to come back and we can explain. Those who are drinking it so slowly won't be able to get to the answers, because the better way to work on maths is to do it first and somebody help you. We'll be right back. I'm very sure that we are ready for the next round. Yes, we are. But before we run into this race, we need to try and accommodate each other. And we have a question from Mfundo, which will take us just a little bit back. So Mfundo was asking, what will we do if we ask a question to find the values of x and we are given the values of y? So we're just going to use one of the examples that we already have and give it a value of y, and then we can move, right? So suppose you were told that the values of y in the last question, which is this one, let's just use the last one that we have looked at. If we are told that the values of y are all 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13, but we don't have, or we didn't know the values of x, and in some cases, which is a little bit tricky, they will just don't put all the values. So suppose they did not put the first one. Let's use another color so that we can be able to do that. Suppose they didn't put the first one, and let's say this is not there, and also that is not there, and also this is not there. So for example, just those three, we don't have the 0, the 2, and the 5. So what are you going to do, Mfundo, there and the others? You're just going to write the equation as it is. Y equals 2x plus 3, because that is our given equation. But in this case, we are only given that y equals 3, for example. So if they give us that y equals 3 according to our first column on the table, then what we're going to do is wherever we see y, we're going to substitute by 3, right? So we're going to put 3 there, and then we have 2x plus 3. So what we're going to do there is we're going to use our method of moving things around or isolating the x. How do we isolate it? We'll have 3 equals 2x plus 3. To isolate it, we need to make sure that x is by itself because we want x. So we're going to subtract 3 on our right and also on our left. Then we're going to end up with 0 on the left, and we're going to end up with 2x, right? Then we're going to divide both sides by 2. When we do that, we're going to find our x to be 0. Why? Because if you have 0 divided by anything, that remains as 0. I hope this will have helped Mfundo, and Mfundo can be able then to do the rest with everybody else. So that is the strategy that you actually use for you to get to the answers, right? That is actually what you have to do. I hope you have got that. So if they give you that scenario where they want you to find x given the y values, you just do the same way. Substitute, make sure you isolate your x being by itself, and then you can get your answer. Okay, very, very well. Mfundo, nice question. I like it. So let's go to this one. Now, solving by inspection is just that you actually just think of what it can be, or you can actually calculate it on the side. No one would know you have done that. Teacher Tandy has said it, but nobody would know. You can calculate on the side and you say, okay, I have x plus 3 equals 10, right? So what number can I add with 3 that will give me a 10? That one I think is a bit easier because our numbers, our hands can also help us on that. So that basically the 7, but you can confirm that is true. You can say, okay, I have x plus 3. Let me isolate like what we just did now by subtracting the 3, right? Remember, when you subtract it on the left side, you also have to do it on the right, right? So that is the rule. What we do on the left, we also must do on the right. So then we have 3 minus 3, which leaves us with x equals 7. So inspection that we have done, it was true that actually here our x will be equals to 7. Because if I take 7 and I substitute it on x, I'll have 10 on my left and 10 on the side. So that's how you check, right? So if I say 7 plus 3 equals 10, I also have 10 equals 10. Right, so that's what we do. Same applies to this one. So what you do, you just say, I have 13 minus p equals 8. What number can I subtract from 18 to get p? So by inspection can be that where you just have to find your number that you can subtract to get p, right? Or you can just actually say, which number can I add to 8 for me to get 13? That can also give you another version of this. So with that being said, then you'll be able to have your value of p. You can calculate it, or you can actually just say the numbers that will be is 5. So if I put p to be 5, then I know that my left hand side equals to my right hand side, right? Same applies to the number 3. If you look at it as well, I just need a number that when I divide by 4, I will have 4. Which number that can be? It's a square number here, so that is going to be 16. If I have y equals 16 and I divide it by 4, I'm literally going to have a 4. So left hand side equals to the right hand side. Here again, I need a number that when I subtract a minus 4 or I subtract 4 in it, I am going to have a 10. So that number will be, so which number do I have when I take away or I subtract 4? I'm going to have 10. That will be 14. So if I have negative 4 plus 14, I will have 10, right? So that is what you are going to do. So that means your x, therefore, will be equals to 10. That is the by inspection method that you can use, but you need to always check that what you are saying is literally correct. We do have a lot that we can teach you at all time, in all cases. At this point, as I've given you most relevant references, one will be for you to use one of our books, which are very, very many. We have Today, we have Spot On, we have Platinum, we have X-Kit. So you can actually have one of this book, and it can help you because it has a lot of exercises on this with its colorfulness as well that can guide you through. But before I forget, it's not only the textbook that you can use. We do have our friend Maski. If you have never heard about Maski, you can actually just save this number 072 091 0388. The numbers will then take you to WhatsApp. If you just say, hi, Maski, Maski will actually respond to you as if you are talking to your friend. It's very friendly and keeps aligned. Trust me, it will only give you any educational things and guide you through step by step of what you're looking for. So that is our own AI space. If that is not enough, you can also stay tuned in Maski TV. There's a lot of videos, our Maski Playground, and many, many things that we have put out there in Maski Mila Learning to support you and ensure that your education is seamlessly very, very easy, unlike some of us who had found it challenging. I'm very sure that we have enjoyed the lesson together. From myself, Teacher Thandi, and Maski Mila Learning with Maski TV, I want to just wish you a very good luck and say, until we meet again next week. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
And now we enter our next exciting chapter with the launch of Maskiverse, an inspiring trio of innovations, our AI-powered learning companion, captivating TV content, and a vibrant playground for interactive learning, and our own dedicated app, all coming together beautifully to deliver learning outcomes through technology.